All right, we're ready to go, and I'm going to call to order the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, July 23rd. Nick Artem is dialed in from New Zealand, and Victor is absent. He had a knee replacement and is healing and doing well, is the word we've got. He's going to be doing sprints before he gets back in here. So, first item is approve the agenda.
Moved. Second.
Moved and second. Is there any changes?
We do have the agenda addition of item 5A for a first-class liquor license for Tony Neary.
Okay. I see Tony in the back. All right. Not yet. Yeah. Are there any other amendments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Forget there's a little bit of a lag. You're down in the southern hemisphere, and so. Is it still all upside down there? What's that?
Everything is upside down.
Upside down, yeah. Okay, next item is approval of the minutes of our July 9th Select Board meeting.
Moved.
Second.
Moving second, are there any changes to the minutes?
The shortest minutes.
Shortest minutes we've had in a while.
So nice.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as drafted signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. Next is citizen comments. Is there anyone here for something that is not on the agenda? Please.
My name is Irene Barna, and I am here to bring additional attention to preservation of the pulp mill covered bridge once our construction is going. Now, Kathleen very graciously gave me copies of the infrastructure meeting in June where it was discussed, and they're talking pretty much about signage, okay? Which, yeah, but people aren't reading signs. As you know, they're not reading signs. I brought in two recent publications of the National Society for the Preservation of Covered Bridges for structures being hit by oversized vehicles. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Thetford Center Mill in Vermont, and another one in Pennsylvania. So, and this is since last summer. And then what it is people are not reading the signage or paying any attention to or they just plain don't know the size of their vehicle. So they attempt to go through it. And just sometimes it's just cosmetic damage to the portal of the bridge, and sometimes they'll continue going through it and cause serious structural damage. And structural damage, as you know, you have to shut down your structure. And we can't afford to have that structure shut down that summer. So my proposal was for those, now they're called headache bars. But then reading what Dan Werner had to say, that maybe the infrastructure, the water system underneath there wouldn't allow for that assembly of that headache bar structure that I had mentioned at the last meeting. So, but that's up for discussion. But I just wanted to bring it to attention that these covered bridges are still being hit by oversized vehicles. So if there's to be signage, it's got to be obnoxious signage that people are that can't miss. And like, this is the last place you can turn around because you won't fit through that bridge, but you can't put that much signage, their verbiage on the sign. But if they're going to turn around there by Bordeaux Brothers, which would be the last place to turn around, because there's no turnaround place down there necessarily. If they realize when they get that far, they can. And of course, not much on the Weybridge side. So please don't overlook the preservation of our 1853 covered bridge. Thank you for putting up with me.
Okay, thank you.
Are we able to discuss that at all? Like, why is it true about there being a barrier to putting something in?
Staff did not recommend the installation.
A very, very rough estimate was $25,000 per side.
So it's a cost consideration more than
Yeah.
like a limit in
Well,
infrastructure?
And there was some concern about the efficacy of the structure.
the efficacy.
So I suggested to Irene that she go back to the infrastructure committee with her concerns, so they can revisit that.
Okay.
And the meeting's going to be August 8th, Irene.
Yep, okay. So to be continued, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is request for approval for the Ilsley Public Library. It's submitted for art gallery, bookstore, museum, or library serving permit for Friends of the Ilsley Library event on October 3rd. Is Dana here?
Nope.
She is not.
Okay.
This is simply the liquor control commissioner's approval of the actual liquor license itself,
Okay.
which will go to DLC.
Any questions? I think Kathleen can answer them.
This is for the same event that we already.
Same
approved?
event we already have approved.
Okay.
yeah.
No,
Okay, then pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the art gallery, bookstore, museum, or library serving permit for the Friends of Ilsley Library event on October 3, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
I'll get it one of these days, Nick.
Okay.
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 So Tony, we're going to do 5A, which is yours, and if you want to come forward and just tell us what you're looking for.
Well, this isn't a liquor license to serve alcohol at the location of where the catering kitchen is. This is for a catering permit from the town. And what that allows me to do in time is I can cater any event in the state, because the town I go to has to issue the permit for whatever the event is. If we go out to a wedding up in one of the parks in Ferrisburg or North Ferrisburg. But I've been doing this under the Pizza Putt license. See, all it is a catering kitchen. You have to have a catering kitchen separate from a restaurant. And I thought I could get away with, so here is Greg's got a license, so I can cater out of Greg's. And the liquor control advised me to do it through the catering company, because it's a lot easier to get a cater permit than it is to get a license through a restaurant or a license from a grocery store to cater. So we've been doing this for about 15 years with Pizza Putt, and of course Pizza Putt's gone now. But prior to that, I did it with Angela's restaurant for about 10 years. And prior to that, I did it with Paisano's restaurant. So all the catering, all the town is saying is, okay, here's a permit for your kitchen to have a catering permit. But I'm not going to serve alcohol there like a restaurant. It's just going to be for catering. If it's in Middlebury, I still have to come back to you and get a permit from the town for that particular day, just like the library just did.
Okay.
Now, they're using somebody's catering license, unless you gave them a permit for a license of their own. In other words, two brothers wants to do that party, they have to file with you to do it. You probably wouldn't know who the caterer was, but you would just approve it for the event.
Yeah.
And that could happen in North Ferrisburg or for Jen's or whatever. So we've been operating a catering permit for years, and then we just figured, Greg's, we can just sign the paper, send the check in. No, it don't work that way.
Okay.
Thanks to the town clerk, and she helped me out, because there's no way I could have got to you people as quick if she didn't. You see.
So Ed, let me just, have we got all the paperwork in order then?
Yes, so what's really happening is that he has a commercial kitchen, which is inspected and approved and all that by the Department of Health. But for him to cater out of there, he has to have a catering license, which is applied for
Yeah.
through liquor control.
Okay.
And to have the catering license and be able to serve alcohol, he does have to have the first class license.
Okay.
So, yeah, so what he's saying is he has a facility that's here in Middlebury, that's why he has to apply in Middlebury,
Yeah.
but he will not be serving any alcohol from that facility, so.
Okay.
All the paperwork is either.
But you've got all the paperwork in order.
Yep,
Okay.
You should have a copy of that, maybe you sent that. That's sent to you, and then also pending is a catering license, I believe under the name of MB Catering.
It's MV
Yeah,
for
that's
either
pending.
Mid-Vermont or Middlebury.
That's pending with DLC. And then, as he said, yes, if he was catering an event in Middlebury, he would still have to submit that.
Okay,
Each town, but you're giving me the right to go anywhere
Yeah.
in the state.
okay.
Something
Pleasure.
that just happened.
So, and would the approval be to move that the board approve the application of MV Catering for a first-class commercial kitchen catering permit?
Yeah. The motion would be to approve a first-class license
Okay.
for MB Catering Commercial Kitchen. So it's really approving just that first-class license.
Okay, does the board understand what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody okay with that?
Took a
I'll
while to
entertain a
figure it
motion
out,
then.
though, and,
I'll make a motion to approve a first-class license for MV Catering out of Middlebury. Did I get that right?
So first-class license for,
Did you
to
second?
serve for liquor, or is just first-class license?
Beer and wine, the liquor's another separate ball game. That's a whole other world.
Yeah,
You have to go back to the state for that.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay. There you go, Tony.
Thank you.
Now your paperwork's in order.
Yeah, I also want to tell you, your zoning administrator and your town clerk, good people.
All right, thank you.
They helped me with the flags market, which opens tomorrow morning at 7.
All right. I know, we're all watching.
Karen?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Okay.
So I believe that you received the amended permit application for the block party, which we are asking to now include alcohol in the form of a beer garden that is run by the restaurant that's going to be coming into the Stone Mill. They'd like to have a presence at the block party. They want to sell food, and they've expressed interest in selling beer. I believe it's just beer and wine. In compliance with, I know that they've been working with Ann to get all of their paperwork in order, but on my end, I needed to fill out another permit applications because now we're looking at having alcohol at this event. It would have a separation from the rest of the block party with signage saying no alcohol beyond this point. So that's what we're looking at down at the closer, right in front of Community Barn Ventures, so closer to the Merchants Row intersection, we block off a space.
Questions?
So the Mad Taco is the,
I'm not sure that I can comment on that, but it is the restaurant that's going into the Stone Mill.
okay.
So they would be applying for the
You,
Permit
with
with
you, right,
boundary lines.
right.
So I'll make a motion to approve a revision to the Better Middlebury Partnerships Public Assemblage Permit for the 14th of August downtown block party to include serving alcohol by food vendor The Mad Taco.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded. Are there any other questions on that? And you haven't seen the Mad Tacos permit request yet?
I have-
You have?
It's in the
You may have
packet.
a copy of it in your packet.
Okay. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you guys there.
All right, looking
Bye.
forward to it. Jim?
So we have the Mad Taco request to cater in your packet. Might as well knock that off now while we're on the topic.
Is
So
it-
this is for the block party. This is only for the catering for that event. So
Okay.
this would be in motion of the board to approve the request to cater on Wednesday, August 14th at the block party.
I'll make a motion to approve the Mad Tacos request for a catering license to cater at the October 14th block party in downtown Middlebury.
August.
Did I not say that?
14th August, she said.
I thought she did.
14th of, I'll amend that, 14th of August.
Okay.
Did I say October?
Did you say October?
Oh. I don't know what month it is.
Time's just flying by.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm speeding it up too.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, and everything's good with you, Ann, on that? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. Looks like the Mad Taco's coming to town, huh?
So I hear.
Jim?
Hi, everyone. Hey, Nick.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine, thanks. So I'm here for good news tonight. You're back on June 4th at the public meeting. V-Trans announced that it would be awarding a marketing grant to the town of Middlebury for $228,750. And now the legal agreement has worked its way through V-Trans contract administration. It landed in town on Friday afternoon, and it's now off for legal review by town's legal counsel. And most of that agreement is boilerplate. That's almost word for word what we've seen before in previous grant agreements with the state. The language that's specific to this marketing grant is good language that we've developed that introduces checks and balances that will, over the course of the next 2 years, will ensure that the money is being spent well and in accordance with federal and state regulations. So, so the ask tonight is that pending final review by town's legal counsel, that you authorize Kathleen to sign the grant agreement. It will then be executed by the Secretary of Transportation, and the money will start flowing.
With pleasure. So I'll move that we authorize our town manager to sign the grant agreement with V-Trans for the 2019-20 Neighbors Together marketing program, pending review by our council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions on that?
So can I just, so Karen's here too, the metrics that we're going to measure that are listed in the information, we're good with that and we have a plan there. I felt like it might be a lot to keep track of, but you're good?
Yeah.
You don't have to make much of a choice. That's what the information that they want to receive in exchange for giving us this grant, so that's the information that we'll provide back to them.
And we collect some of that information already in some of the events we've held.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing that we have to do it makes it a lot easier than having to try to come up with the information after the fact. So, from here on out, we'll just make sure that we're really diligently keeping track of the things that we know that we need to report back in on about, which is gonna help everybody anyway, so I think it's just best practice.
I think the metrics, too, were seen as important when V-Trans comes to working with other towns and, developing similar marketing grants. They'll probably also be important when it comes to a federal audit at the end of the project. So there's a lot of good reasons to have those metrics in there.
Yeah, I think they're good. I just wanna make sure we have a plan.
Yeah.
And staff capacity to make sure we hit all those and do what we say we're gonna do, so.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Same money flow as what we did with the last $75,000 one. Comes to the town, and then we'll pay the bills. Yeah,
And then get reimbursed by the state.
by the state. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion to authorize town manager to sign the grant agreement, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay.
Good. Construction starts Monday, August 5th, and so I'll be updating you periodically as we get underway with this year's construction project.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very
John.
much.
Michael?
Hello again.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back. So I'm here tonight to request that the Select Board grant Friends of Middlebury Hockey a letter of support for a grant application that we're filing with the state against their recreational facilities grant program. We're filing this because the initial project plan that we had spec'd out for the Sports Center improvements back in 2017 came in at $350,000, and that's what we built our fundraising campaign around. We raised just over $311,000, and the town, through the town meeting day vote, authorized us to borrow up to another $100,000 through National Bank of Middlebury. When we worked with Silver Maple to send the job out to bid, it came back higher than expected. So we've cut about $35,000 out of the budget through simplifying some options and eliminating some non-essential things. We're also working with some volunteers to pull in some volunteer labor to save us money there. But we still have a critical gap of about $23,000 at this time. So we're applying to the grant program, asking for their maximum grant allowance of $25,000. So while also still pursuing additional donations and other grant opportunities.
It's amazing how much construction costs have gone up just over the past couple of years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The two biggest areas of increase over those 3 years, the elevator that we need to put in, the original good faith estimate on that was $58,000. Upon sending it out to bid, it came back at $73,000. And then for the plumbing and mechanical for the upstairs indoor restrooms, the original the original estimate on that was just over $41,000. Bid price that came back this year was just over $80,000. So in talking with the contractors that we've been working with so far, the combination of a glut of business and not very many people to do that business has driven prices up across the state.
Yeah.
So we're making the best of the situation. Construction did begin earlier this month. We're 3 weeks into it now.
We see it.
Yeah, I've been posting to Facebook. We've framed in almost all of the interior spaces on the second floor. The plumbing is going in right now. Electrical's going in right now. And we plan to start putting up sheetrock the first week of August. And we are on path to have the second floor space open at the beginning of the hockey season this fall.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to endorse the Friends of Middlebury Hockey's request to submit an application for $25,000 recreational grants, facilities grant to support the project to complete the build-out of the second floor of the Memorial Sports Center.
Second.
Moved and seconded, so all in favor of endorsing the request for the application signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And they're also asking for a letter of support. Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to sign the letter of support for Friends of Middlebury Hockey's Recreation Facilities Grant Program application.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay.
Did we not sign a letter of support last time?
Or is it
Not
different
for this
one?
grant
something else.
application.
That was our application with National Bank of Middlebury to be pre-approved for the ability to borrow. This is for a grant application that would go to the state.
Right. And there's no match for this one, or is there a match?
They're proposing the match of the construction that's already ongoing.
Already there, okay.
Great.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
good
look-
luck.
I look forward to coming back with more pictures and invitation to join us when we're ready to open it.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Dan?
What do you know? Whole agenda full of infrastructure.
Good evening.
Evening, Dan.
Okay, the first item up from the Infrastructure Committee meeting of last week is a contract to do some repairs to the Seymour Street storm sewer. This is right at Seymour Street and Methodist Lane, crossing Seymour Street over to the side that the National Bank's parking lot is on. There's a corrugated metal pipe that has collapsed, or is collapsing, in the side of the parking area. So I put this project out to bid to the various contractors in the area. We received 2 bids back. The one from Champlain Construction and one from R. Parker Enterprises, known as Parker Excavation. They were the low bidder for the project at $17,600. The Infrastructure Committee recommended to send that bid to you to approve it, so we can get that scheduled. There will be at least a day during the daytime of road closure so they can get across the street, probably shifting traffic from one side to the other. So that'll be scheduled once we get underway here. So I'm requesting the board to approve that bid of $17,600 from Parker Excavating.
I'll move to award the engineering, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. To award a contract to Parker Excavation for the Seymour Street Storm Sewer Replacement Project at a total cost of $17,600.
Second. Any questions of that for Dan?
Just a quick comment.
Comment?
I didn't think about the other day. We've had some concerns from business owners in that area when we've done road closures before, so let's just try to be as on top of that as we can to avoid any additional issues there if we can.
Yep.
Okay.
Understood.
Great.
The next item is...
Hold on.
Sorry?
Haven't voted yet.
Oh, sorry.
You're not going out to bid yet. So, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? And that, the last time the business owners just asked for notification, so maybe we'll just make sure. It's probably the best way to handle it, just have somebody go down through there saying, next week we're gonna be doing this.
Yeah, it's tricky because they still need to get further down the street, but then there's a point where you can't get through. So we're hoping to, be able to shift and do at least one lane, but we'll talk it out and get a plan.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. Next is the engineering agreement for Washington Street, Court Street Water Main Project. This is to try to get this done before the state does Class 1 paving in 2021. I requested an engineering contract from Otter Creek Engineering, and they came to the Infrastructure Committee. They're a team of 4 representatives from the firm to talk through with the committee about this agreement, and basically to everybody get a comfort level of how complex our project is going to be. We'll be crossing Court Square twice, North Pleasant, South Street Pleasant by the granite bollard fence once. That area has concrete roadbed. From there, going south towards Cross Street, some of it is in the road. We did improve the water main underneath Cross Street at Court Street when we did the Cross Street Bridge some years ago, so we don't have to go across that intersection. But from there to for the phone company building is south to Mary Hogan South, that is all in the grass, so that'll be a little bit easier. But there's some complex pieces and how we're going to work with that with the bridge project. So they did I think a thorough presentation, and the Infrastructure Committee recommended that they send this proposal to you for approval tonight. The cost of the estimate is for $82,100, and that is to get us to a point of survey, which is going to be the most important thing, so we can sort out what can be scheduled and when with this bridge project. It'll also go through conceptual design and then preliminary design development to a point where we can take a look at it and say, okay, how does this fit and how do we proceed from here? So they gave us a proposals, or part of the proposal was for, the bid phase, for construction phase services, review, just kind of as a placeholder for give us an idea what those costs may be. But for right now, we're just going to get through the first several phases, and that would be $82,100. So I'm requesting the board to approve that contract to Otter Creek Engineering.
So I'll move to award the engineering contract for the Washington Street, Court Street Water Main Project to Otter Creek Engineering through item 5, which is permitting and construction documents, for a total cost of $82,100.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions? What we're
I
approving?
have one comment, Brian.
Yeah,
First of all, I think the timing is excellent. I'm glad to see this moving forward because we know the criticality of getting this work done, especially before the 2021 repaving. But I've been accused to recuse myself on this one for a couple of reasons. One is that I've utilized Otter Creek Engineering over the years whenever I needed a civil engineering subcontractor, so I have a long-standing professional relationship with them. Plus, several of the people there are personal friends, so I don't want to give the impression of any bias on this vote, so I think it's best to stay neutral that I do this recusal.
okay, understood. And,
So we do have a lot of work to do. You know, I don't know how far you looked into the proposal, but the timeline in order to make this go and happen, and we have a lot of work to do, so, but they gave a good presentation the other day, and they're aware of the challenges, and I think it will be a good fit, and we just hope we can get it all done and make it work.
yeah, with this plan, they're looking at having it ready for bidding by February. Is that correct?
Correct. As you just heard with the hockey rink, number of contractors who do this, the contract work, they're getting scarce, and prices
Yeah.
go up, and we want to hit that bidding window in winter and try to be one of the first projects, in the area that's out to
Right.
bid. So contractors are a little hungry, and this is going to be a long project. That helps usually in the bidding process. So we want to try to hit it early.
Yes, good strategy. Okay.
Okay, any other questions on that? Here are no questions. All in favor of approving the motion to go through item 5, permitting and construction documents, signify by saying an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And we have one abstention. Okay.
All right.
Let's hope the timing works.
Yeah,
I think we've had good luck, though, when we've got stuff ready and can do it before they get filled up.
Yeah, we had a brief, just briefly, Bill and I did a walk with Kabricki last week about the sidewalk and the curbing issue that we've been talking about, and when this came up and when it might work, and we were thinking, boy, if we can get in early into some of the stuff before May, before that Memorial Day closed down. And we chatted with them, and they said, boy, it'd be great if you could get in the spring. So, we're kind of on the same page if we can make that happen. Let's get some of it out of the way before that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the plan.
We ought to think about, when we put the proposal, when we put it out to bid, including some incentives for hitting targets.
Right.
I don't know what we can do there, like what the state does, but we ought to maybe think about offering the contractor some incentives for hitting our schedule and getting things done when we want it done.
It's worth a thought. Yeah.
Especially
Okay.
for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to citizen comments because I understand, I just had a note passed to me, Princess Montpellier. And so I'm going to let her come up and then we'll bring Bill up.
My name is Ramsey. I'm here early, but I lie down and went to sleep.
Got a nap. Well, you'll be sharp. You'll be able to
Thank you.
be right on that. Okay.
Okay. I met with Ms. Ramsey yesterday morning to tell about this. I am really distressed that, for instance, Mr. Scanlon has written to my landlord April, May, and June. And I wanted to make copies for all of you. I didn't get to, but I primarily want to point out that in the June letter, was it this one or this one? Here, he tells Mr. Cornell that he has 30 days to correct the deficits, but to my knowledge, he has not fined Mr. Cornell. And about 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I reminded him that he hadn't. And on the day of the fire on June 10th, when the policeman had to enter to get me out of, because I was in the adjacent duplex, they broke the pane to remove the deadlock. And this is all I've been able to do for that door. I put in a motion in court on the 14th, and the judge denied it for insufficient evidence. I showed her how the door looked when they broke into it, and that I needed it repaired emergently. And she said, insufficient evidence. And it is amazing. I have gone before the federal court 3 times. I prevailed all 3 times. And the judges asked me if I was a lawyer. When I said no, they said, you mean you missed your calling, you know how to make your case. I don't know what's with this judge here, but it seems like I just can't get anywhere. Anyway, this is the report also from the assistant fire marshal. And he puts in there that a smoke alarm disappeared on the day of the fire. My landlord says that I removed it and that I should have been there to make sure nobody removed it. Okay, first of all, I'm woken up at 3:30 in the morning. I go outside on my nightgown and my coat. Then I know about 5:15, Mr. Shaw, the chief of the fire department, tells me I cannot stay in my apartment that night because of the smoke. So at 5:15, 5:30, I go to the Middlebury Inn and rent a room for me and Teresa Engel, who lived in apartment 3, which was totally charred. Okay? I have not. My life has been in jeopardy every second that door is not repaired. And Mr. Canal has been told to do it, both, as I understand, from Mr. Scanlon and Mr. Maxim, and he's done nothing. Now, these are also stairs that Mr. Scanlon or Mr. Maxim told him to repair or secure it. I fell on Sunday, and today I fell on the stair that has not been fixed on the outside of the porch. It just, to Mr. Quinnell, the devil may care, because the threats, Mr. Scanlon is saying that he must do it in 30 days or he's going to be fined $100 for each deficit. Right now, the town of Middlebury could have circa $6,000. And Mr. Quinnell is not going to do anything until he gets hit in the pocket. That's the only thing he'll understand, because he just ignores everything. And then I was gonna bring a copy of my letter to Mr. Maxim, but I misplaced it. I faxed to him and told him, you gotta give a date to Mr. Cornell. He said, replace the smoke alarm immediately. Mr. Cornell has done nothing. So there's no smoke alarm at top of the stairs. And then Mr. Maxim says everything else in 30 days. The secondary egress that I am to take in case there's another fire, I can't, because I cannot remove the screen physically. Secondary, the windows do not have the insert that Mr. Scanlon has told him to get, because suppose I could remove the screen. The window would not stay up. It could fall on my neck, paralyze me, or on my thoracic cavity, cause me a broken ribs, puncture lung, and atelectasis. I happen to be a former professional nurse, and I know a lot about what could happen.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So what can we do as a select board? Is there anything? I mean,
Not that I know of.
I mean, I have faxed Mr. Maxim to come back and to insist that Mr. Quinnell do these things, but he hasn't returned my calls or my faxes.
The authority and the jurisdiction for the smoke detector lies with the state fire inspector.
okay.
And just to note that I spoke to Tom Scanlon, our health officer, today about the imposition of the $100 per day fine that he mentioned in his letter. And he said that he was mistaken. He mistakenly included that clause from a zoning enforcement letter that he had done. He does not have any authority to impose a $100 per day fine for these violations.
Well, $100 per deficit that he doesn't correct? I'm not talking about the smoke alarm. I'm talking about all of the things that Mr. Scanlon, he has written 3 reports. I'm talking about their deficiency, not putting the inserts on the windows. Okay, not cleaning the windows. I am being exposed to lead every day because he refuses to clean up the windows and paint them again. Okay, because they're spilling paint. It's probably been there since God only knows when.
So the state health department has the jurisdiction on the lead paint.
Okay, well, Mr. Scanlon is the health officer,
Not
This
for the
isn't-
state.
not for the
Right.
state.
the
They
state has a-
deal with that directly, the lead paint program.
So you'll tell me whom to call, or you're going to call?
I don't have that information with me right now, but you know where I am. You can give me a call or stop by my
Okay.
office.
Yeah, because this is ridiculous. And when I told the judge about it, she says, it's a small thing. What do you mean, small thing? She's highly unread on a lot of issues.
Okay, I think my recommendation is that we would take this and look and find out who has jurisdiction on each issue and provide some guidance to her. I'm not prepared to, I don't think we've done our homework because it's new.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was just talking to the board.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
That what we'd like to do is assist you with understanding who
Beg
has.
your pardon?
What we'd like to do is assist you with understanding who has jurisdiction in these matters, so that you can proceed.
Kathleen, you have contact information?
I do have some contact information for the health department and the lead paint program.
Well, I mean, for Princess Montpelier, so we can consolidate the different
Yep.
jurisdictional
So
contacts?
I would be happy to do that in the next couple of days. I won't have it tomorrow at
No.
9 a.m.
I'll call you Thursday and
Okay.
see where we are, okay?
Also for the fire, state fire department, fire
Sounds
marshal.
like she has
She
that.
has, that's Mr. Maxim.
Oh, that is, so,
Yeah.
okay, so you went to the right person.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and who is
Can we keep these so we can go through them, or is this your copy?
No, you can keep those. You can
Okay.
keep those.
They'll be with Kathleen. Okay.
That's fine.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. But the door really bothers me. Because they're just plastic that I put up there with strapping tape. Anybody can come in, put a knife and go right through it and open the door. What do you propose? That?
No, I understand your concern, and, you know, I'm not sure who has the jurisdiction to say they have to fix it if they're going to be renting to you.
Well, Mr. Scanlon told him he had to change the door, but he's not doing it. Like I said, somebody needs to hit him in the pocket. That's the only thing you'll understand. That's the only thing most people understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you for
thank you.
listening. Thank you very much.
Bill, I see you in the back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I will.
Creek Road. We've all been patiently waiting for the process to play out to some form of resolution here, and while that's happening, the road has continued to deteriorate. And it's to the point where the portion that is open is worse than the portion that's closed, and it has been and is becoming more so a safety concern. So the last event where we lost another 75 feet of bank adjacent to the road was on June 20th. And we had staff members along with the chief of police go out and do some inspection and kind of figure out what our options might be. I believe you've been notified of that in a previous select board meeting. And what we came up with is to, there's 10 areas out there. 8 of them are actually in impaired portions of the embankment next to the road, and then there's 2 that don't have clear zone based on AASHTO regulations. So in 10 areas, we'd be looking to install guardrail to pull traffic away from the edge of the riverbank. And given the load on this road, none of that would have to be signalized, can all be self-regulating. And the final quote that I have, including the sign package, is $21,829 to do that work.
Questions?
Well, it seems like a safety priority, right? Did you feel that way in infrastructure?
The infrastructure moved to recommend the approval. I personally did not vote for it, but that's, you know, I have to support what the infrastructure committee has
Okay.
recommended.
Because you thought more needed to be done, or? it
No,
did
because
need
I
to be
didn't
done?
want to spend any money on that road until we figured out what we were doing with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so what I told infrastructure, this is kind of a stopgap measure to keep the road open, to keep people safe, and it seems to be a relatively cheap insurance policy in order to keep people safe and to protect the town's liability at the same time while we figure this out, because basically you're not looking for a recommendation at this point until December, and even when that comes, we don't know what that's going to be or where that's going to take us or what the timeline to get something done out there is going to be.
Did you compare that cost to like a Jersey barrier, just interim fix? or-
Jersey barriers are more expensive.
They're more expensive.
Quite a bit more. This is actually used guardrail, so we're saving,
Okay.
Dan probably has a better idea than me, but at least half or maybe more
So this is
on the
about the
installation of
cheapest
this.
way to narrow that up and
Yep.
keep people away from the shoulder.
Yes.
Okay. I do
Well-
think you need to keep people away from that shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, the road has been close to that creek for
A long time.
for a long time, and there are people that gone in the creek with their cars before. The road has had safety issues for as long as the road has existed. You know, is it more than it was before? Probably so. I just don't want to spend any money on that road to figure out what we're doing with it.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's just a,
And, but isn't part of that the reason that we started setting some money aside? And this is a safety issue, it's a stopgap, it's not a fix, but it's part of that process that we have to go through, I think, to
Yeah, it's a tough
get
one.
to the end, whether the end is to, you know, abandon this road or open it back up. I mean, just
I
looking
mean,
to keep.
people already do know that it has issues, and that's Heather's point, so why would we do it? We could spend that money on the Pult Mill Bridge.
Mo's got something.
Proper time, or should I wait till I make a motion?
No, we're, yes.
Mo Graham, Middlebury, taxpayer since 1968. I'll take about 4 minutes of your time.
You could
Mo,
speak into the
Can you
mic.
take the mic there?
You mind if I sit down?
No, that's fine.
I feel that this recommendation make more sense from a Middlebury taxpayer perspective than the proposal set forth by Bill for Public Works. I would propose that you do the following until the committee, approved by yourselves, comes back with their findings and ideas. Move the gates to 2 new locations, one at the north end of Creek Road, just south of the Bingham driveway. Put road closed, local traffic only signs and barricades at the end of the pavement at the north end of the road. Traffic can turn around at the pull-off across from the state shed. The second gate would be located just north of the parents' driveway. The south end turnaround already exists there. Reopen the south end of the road, which is the best part of the road, which Bill just adhered to this just now, first time I've heard that. Best part of the road. Place your guardrails at the original site that caused the road to close more than 4 years ago. This is what should have been done 4 years ago and the road left open at that time. Send the traffic south. Public Works will claim that the culvert just south of Parents Drive is faulty and has a hole in it and is unsafe. I do not believe that is the case. There have been hundreds of 20,000 to 90,000 pound loaded farm trucks and spreader tankers going over that culvert for the past 4 years with no problems. If there is a small hole in the culvert, dig down to the hole, install a road plate, and recover it. It's a temporary, just as the guardrails are supposed to be. I will provide some updated information on this culvert at the end of my little letter here. According to Mr. Karen, there is over 1,500 feet of guardrail needed at the north end at a cost of nearly $22,000. That comes to approximately $14.67 per foot. Guardrail needed going south would be approximately 80 feet. That brings the cost of the guardrail in that direction to $1,174. Let's do the math. And remember, this is a temporary measure until your appointed committee is allowed to do their job. I know this might inconvenience those who live on Creek Road, but let's also consider all the people who have been inconvenienced for the past 4 years also. On a final note, I see this Public Works plan as a step to establish a private driveway to 1 or 2 residents on Creek Road, a driveway that the town will maintain and service. That being said, if this does occur, I would expect the town to maintain the driveway as a taxpayer at 393 Blakeroy Road. In any other driveway or private road in Middlebury, at the request of any Middlebury taxpayer. I believe you will be setting a precedent in the use of taxpayer dollars. As noted in the correspondence from Benjamin Putman to Kathleen Ramsey on June 13th, 2019. There are many other issues and questions that have been raised on this Creek Road project that have not been answered or addressed by some town officials because they only look at one side. And might I suggest, do you think that maybe those making decisions on Creek Road at least look at the problems firsthand, know what they're looking at, know what they're deciding on, and at least know where the gates are? Let's do the right thing. Do not spend my tax money unwisely. As for the culvert, I inspected the culvert on July 22nd, 2019. That was yesterday. There are no holes in the culvert. I have pictures here. You're more than welcome to see them. Showing, the pictures show both ends of the culverts that were protected from erosion as it was installed when it was installed. These do show a small erosion is well off the traveled roadway, not in the roadway, which has been caused by surface water runoff due to the lack of road maintenance. This erosion could be repaired with as little as a 5-gallon pail of 1 3/4 inch split rock. By the way, when you publish for the public, how about we give out the correct information? Draft minutes of the last Public Works Committee meeting, line 172, stated that another 75 feet of Creek Road have fallen into the creek. Really? I believe Bill was misquoted, but that's what the public sees. This is not true. There's not been a single part of the road, including the original damage site, that has fallen into the creek. All damage is on the shoulders of the road. The road is not falling in the creek. Spend my money wisely, please.
But was that option considered?
No, it wasn't.
Is there a reason why we didn't consider that?
This was the proposal that staff provided to the infrastructure committee.
Okay.
We talked about it briefly in infrastructure, but this was the proposal that we were given by staff, so.
As I understand it, that would just be lengthening the segment that's shut down?
Would be changing the segment that.
Change it?
What Mo is suggesting would be changing the segment that's shut down. And it would require parents to drive considerably more distance to access their property. They would have, the only way they would be able to go. To come around from the southern end. And I'm not sure that anyone's had a conversation with them, you know, specifically about that. And I think that would, if the board were considering going in that direction, I think that would be something that would need to happen before we make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
But the infrastructure committee did recommend to the select board staff's proposal. It's tough. You know, what?
How did you feel,
I
Lindsay?
was going to say, I think a lot of the conversation that we had at infrastructure had to do with what we were sort of legally obligated to do, or are we putting the town at risk if we don't do something? And certainly it seemed like Chief Hanley is leaning in that direction, that we're opening ourselves up for problems if we don't do our due diligence. So I think.
As far as having cars running on the road.
Right, as far as if we're going to have the cars.
If you shut down the road except for property owners, does that?
I'm proposing a much less expensive solution to the problem.
It is possible too that you could provide parents with a key to the gate like you do for the other property owners.
That's what I was thinking.
And they could certainly
Manage that.
open the gate and let themselves in and out so that they could still use this order section, and then you're not, I don't, so, you know, the infrastructure committee supported staff's recommendation, so.
Yep. I understand.
I'm in a tough spot between supporting that and.
Well, you have to present what the committee recommends.
Right.
I think the question of the select board is
Regardless of
what were the options that were considered, and is there another option that we haven't thought of or looked at that might be worth considering.
So
Did you consider that at all?
I believe that suggestion was made at infrastructure before the vote.
Yeah.
So they had heard that, and then they still voted in favor of this
But we
option.
had questions that we didn't have answers to, and we did have answers provided here.
And you still don't have all the answers to the implications to what Mo is presenting here without actually going through a little bit more of a planning process.
I mean, I asked at infrastructure if this idea could be explored more fully here, and it didn't really necessarily go anywhere. I think sometimes the way I pose questions is confusing, so when I posed this question at infrastructure, this idea is what I was suggesting.
I think it sends you back to the drawing board, and
Right.
it just takes more time then to figure that out, and we lose another month or another 2 months, and
Right.
this was developed from the aspect of safety. Tom Hanley was out and inspected the road, fully endorsed it. There are probably other options out there. That's why we're still debating on what to do with the road in general.
Oh, wait one sec. I think he was still talking here.
I'm-
All right.
That's right.
Go ahead, Mo.
I think that Mr. Hanley would probably endorse my proposal if it was presented to him. The point is you looked at one particular thing. You didn't do any options. And as far as the culvert, I've been hearing about this culvert over and over again for a long time, that it's not safe and so forth, and that's not true. That is not true. And you can have these. If you want me to explain the pictures, I can gladly will.
Where's this culvert on the map?
It is just south of Perrin's driveway.
Just on the other side of the northern gate.
Yeah,
It's right on the bottom here.
or the southern gate, right?
It's on the south side of the northern gate, so it's on the closed section of the road just past the gate.
Closed.
Yes, but
So it's the
near
northern
Perrin's,
gate.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Southern part of this map, northern gate of the,
Correct.
Right, sorry. I'm getting all the south and north parts all mixed up.
yeah.
I don't even know what month it is.
Brian, I have a question for Heather.
Go ahead, Nick. Sorry, I should
Has
let
anybody
you.
else in the infrastructure committee object to this besides yourself?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So not being part of this discussion in the infrastructure committee, I tend to incline towards an expert opinion and our safety from Chief Hanley. His opinion seems to hold more importance to me because they've been dealing with this for a long time, Bill and Dan. So that's where I'm at, without knowing all the details.
I've been related to the infrastructure committee. When we went out and did the site inspection here, I rode in Chief Hanley's car, and driving south, he drove on the left side of the road away from the riverbank because he's concerned about it too.
I just gotta go back to, did you drive the south end?
I did not even look at the south end because the south end is closed, and my concern is safety for people that are using the open portion.
I'm just saying simply change it, less expensive.
Mo, your point is that now the south end is better than the north end?
Always has.
And, yeah, and that, yeah.
So,
I mean, there's plenty of issues. I mean, this is the conversation that's happening, I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
happening now because of this safety, hazard and so forth right now. That which has nothing to do with what's gonna happen with the road down the road. That we've been discussing for 4 years. But we only looked at one, because that's the part of the road that's been open, the south part of the road. I mean, I can go back to a number of things. I'll just bring up one thing.
Mo, if you could just speak into the microphone so Beth can get you on the meeting minutes, that would be helpful. Thank you.
The south end of the road, I'm just speaking of one issue. We had, I think it was about a year ago, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, where we had a ride down the road to look at the road and what was going on and so forth. And this dangerous part of the south end that was so dangerous that it closed the road. And yet, I didn't give you the pictures, but I have pictures of a bus full of you people parked right on that section of road. How dangerous is that? You know, the road has not collapsed. The road has not been maintained. This particular situation right here is about safety. My concern is my tax dollars. Yes, we need to do something if people are going to travel part of that road, but that is the least expensive option.
So if we put gates, as Mo was suggesting, that seems like a good scenario, except that the parents are impacted by a longer commute. That's what I think I'm hearing.
So on the north end, right after the rec field.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think your suggestion of giving them a key is a great one, because everybody all the farmers have had to have a key and have had to open and close that gate for the past 4 years.
Well, it seems like it may make, I don't know, sense to do that. We do have our committee that's supposed to be making a recommendation, like how much is going to happen between now and the recommendation of that committee in November.
I have a home business. I used that road all the time before it was closed. That was my main way to Middlebury. It was the main way for other people in the neighborhood to have businesses. I don't want to inconvenience the parents either. But that's going to affect their tax dollar too, if you spend the $22,000 there.
Committee meeting,
August 8th.
August 8th. When's our next select board meeting?
The 13th.
I actually have one comment on that too.
Go ahead, Nick.
It's an interesting suggestion that's been made, and I also hear the safety. The one thing I'm not so sure of, though, is that it is just exclusively for the parents used back and forth, because how does the Postal Service or FedEx or any delivery services, how would they access the parents' place? And is there a threat there, or would they be willing just to leave it at their whatever the items are at the gate?
I don't know.
It's a good question, and so,
This proposal doesn't change the status quo right now. You still have emergency vehicle access the way you have it today. All of the residents still have access as they have it today. It doesn't reroute anything. It doesn't change anything. It simply makes it safer.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing, though, and that's I concur with the issues that Heather's concerned about spending the money on this at this point. I would expect emergency vehicles and all that. I'm thinking of more of the normal daily delivery services. The Postal Service is the one that jumps to my mind right now.
Bingham's, but they're up here.
But they're up there.
Are we trying to delay a decision a little
don't know.
bit longer, or stop?
I don't know what the pleasure is, but of the board.
Okay.
I'm just looking at it, and I'm wondering, our legal obligations to parents, what are the options to them? It looks like we have just the parents that are using it for their domicile. The remainder of that property from Bingham's south to the northern gate of the closed road are farm properties. And I'm-
There are two impacted areas, if you were to put a gate at Bingham's, so that's another 300 feet of guardrail.
Yeah,
I mean, still cheaper, but that would need to be, or should be, protected also.
I wonder if it's worth delaying just one board meeting, Bill, to consider that as an option and talk to the parents. And because if they're, I don't know, like I say, we ought to find out what our legal obligations are, but if it's something that can be worked out as an interim solution, it certainly saves the town money that can go towards, if we have to build a driveway for them. I know that our discussion was never to maintain that. Mo insinuated that we would be obligated to maintain it. That was never in the cards. But to build an alternative driveway, that would be money that could go towards that. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I guess my main concern is that if the parents push back, then we delay another month again,
Well, we have
or longer.
No, we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so just a couple weeks. What, is that,
And if they-
the only thing I'm
if
concerned
they-
about is that
Yeah.
used guardrail, limited supply, or is that a source that you can generally get used guardrail?
I can't answer that. I don't know if it came off another job and they have an overabundance of it or what, and they may even be interested in buying it back when we're done with it. I don't know. I didn't ask that either.
Okay.
So when we closed the road, like, when we did the culvert at, is it Halpin Road? We did the big culvert there, and we closed that road, and it was closed for 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's a shorter duration closure than this would be. But obviously, mail and the school bus and emergency access all has to make adjustments. How is that typically handled? Like when you're,
A bunch of phone calls and questions and answers, and then they generally need to figure it out.
but we're also talking about a shorter time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also, you know, well, yeah, I don't know what way to go.
I mean, something I struggle with this project in general is that we often don't have more than one option on the table, and I think that that's part of what the task force was, I mean, slightly separate issue, but, you know, hiring the consultant and having the task force to sort of help us sort through what alternatives are. And I feel like in general, when Creek Road comes up, we only have one option on the table. If the option is safety or not safety, I choose safety, but I'd love to hear I'd love for us to take the time to consider this other, possibly much cheaper option.
Me too. So it sounds like a conversation with the parents, and maybe that would clarify it, and we would know by our next select board meeting which way we want to go. So not that much longer, but a little bit longer.
Bill, what's that do to you if we just push it to the next select board meeting? We'll give you an answer definitely at the next select board meeting. Would you
We
mind
just
if
hope nothing bad happens.
It's been going on for weeks,
I
I
know.
know. But
And there's other options. I mean, my initial thought was to move the northern gate and close more of the road.
That's what I'm
That was
talking about.
And then if you
Yeah.
want to give 2 homeowners keys,
Yes,
you know,
That's
then you
what-
don't, you eliminate the other traffic.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, you still have some liability associated with the people that are using that, but it's much limited.
Yeah, we wouldn't move the southern gate. We're talking closing more of the road.
Yeah.
That's the option I think I understand we're talking about.
yes.
Well, if you're gonna give the homeowners
Keys.
the homeowner's actual keys,
Mhm.
then you wouldn't have to move that southern gate, you'd only have to move the northern gate.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. I thought that was what we were,
I understood Mo's proposal was to move the northern gate just north of Perrin's driveway, and then to remove the southern gate and put it up here by Bingham's, and just close
Well-
it from Bingham's to Perrin's.
that was Mo's, my thought is not to move the southern gate, but you move the northern gate, because the entire length of, the entire stretch of road
I mean,
is,
that might be the proper thing to do, given what's happening to that section of the road.
because that way we would conserve our money to invest it in whatever our final decision is. That's just my thought. And I think it would be the quickest solution. We just need to make sure what our legal obligations are and the acceptance by the property owners, is my
And,
thought.
there may, I don't know how it works out, but I know that, other people that live on private roads provide lock boxes at the end of them for delivery services to make deliveries. And I don't see why we can't make sure that Chief Shaw and Chief Hanley have keys to the gate for emergency access. It's certainly inconvenient, but
I know I did hear parents bring up that question at one meeting about, emergency services, and that would definitely delay them. And if they had an issue with a key or couldn't find a key or something, it could be, a longer delay, but
Yeah.
I know they did voice that, so.
Well, and I think we'd have to make sure we had a plan, number one, and there's different ways to secure a key right there.
Yep, yes, there is.
And,
In different ways, yep.
So I'd like to just, we're only talking 2 weeks, Bill, and I think you've done some great work here, but if there's a solution where we can conserve that money, and whatever the final solution is, that money goes towards that, actually solving it long-term, I'd rather do that. If we can. I don't know if that's an option, but I think it's worth just looking at.
I'm supplying an option and a recommendation, and obviously, we will do whatever the board wants us to do.
Yeah.
I guess my only question is during that 2-week time, what would be the plan for contacting parents, and what would actually be the plan that's presented to them, and.
Yeah. So,
is that something that you and I can work on with Kathleen and Bill? And
I think maybe the four of us could invite them to come and sit down with us. That gives us 2 weeks to set up an appointment. That works?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Is
That's a
that
good plan.
acceptable to the select board?
yes.
Is that acceptable to you,
It
Nick?
is, but once again, just have a conversation with the postmaster.
Right, and, even if the town supplied the lockbox as part of the inconvenience, I think it's
if we
a cheaper solution.
provide 2 locked delivery boxes at the gate, they're gonna be stopping to let themselves in, they stop and pick up their deliveries, and,
Yeah. Okay.
it would be a challenge for people trying to visit the residence, but,
Well, and that's where maybe if you had a key
so.
down
well,
there with a combo, or I don't know, we have to think
Before
about
we
it.
met with them.
To that point, the gates have been left open quite a bit, so much so that I changed the locks 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they're still being left open by the farmers, and I've closed them myself several times. So I want to be careful that we control access currently where the gates are, and if we move them in the future, so.
Okay, yeah, good point. All right, so this is going to be a priority item for our next select board meeting.
So
We
they
got to
make,
do a little bit more due diligence before we vote on this.
they make systems where everybody can have their own lock, right? And you know who's leaving it unlocked by whose lock.
Different ways, you can interlock locks, you can
Yeah.
do, different
You know,
things.
So you have a key to your lock, and that's how you get in. Somebody else gets in by their lock, and when it's unlocked, you see whose lock's unlocked, and you know who left it unlocked. There's ways to.
I've seen bridges in Europe like that. Hundreds and thousands of locks on them. Okay. All right, so You have I just confirmed, because if there's any discussion of something different, I'd like it to go back through the infrastructure committee, but you meet, as your infrastructure committee will be meeting before our next select board meeting, so we should be good. That's what our dates look.
That's what we were saying.
Is that correct, Kathleen?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're scheduled to meet on the 8th, and the next
Okay.
select board meeting's the 13th. It actually ends up being 3 weeks, but,
And will
We're not
Kathleen be
saying
setting
no
up the
on this?
meeting with parents, or you, or?
I think we invite them in and see if we can get them to come and sit down with us here with all four of us, so that there's
so
more.
we're all here.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Bill.
Our select board.
I don't see her here, but there's an updated Emerald Dashboard management plan for us to approve.
Yes.
And there's one change that Kathleen has put out as a recommendation.
And I don't know how I guess I totally missed over that in reading it before infrastructure about the specific, they identified the specific vendor in there. And
Yeah,
I didn't catch that, so.
yeah, well, I hadn't caught it before, I like Kathleen's proposal here, and if everybody's good with that, we would just move to adopt the plan with the one change.
There were a couple, there were a couple of changes that we had suggested, right? Some minor changes in infrastructure, weren't there?
Adding the page numbers.
Is that it? I thought there was something else. That was the only one? I thought there was more. I didn't go back and read over the minutes, though, so that's my own fault. Okay.
All right, so
You want me
pleasure of
to-
the board, if you care to make the motion.
I'll move to adopt the updated Town of Middlebury Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan
With change?
with the
With the-
suggested changes of
By Kathleen?
removing specific vendor and adding the page numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on it?
No.
Everybody good with it?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, next is Kathleen's going to talk to us about a better sound system.
Yes, you have in your packet
Bose speakers.
a proposal for a new sound system and assisted listening devices to make us ADA compatible. So this system, this vendor was recommended by Breadloaf and also recommended by Middlebury College, uses this vendor as well. They're the only sound system vendor in the state of Vermont that we could find, and so we're recommending a sole source procurement, and it was endorsed by the Infrastructure Committee, and it's included in the current capital budget.
So I'll move to award a contract to Production Advantage for the purchase of equipment and professional services for a sound-assisted and assistive living. I did that the other day too. Oh, man.
That's where we're going.
Assistive listening system for the Select Board conference room at town offices for a total cost of $7,385.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor
No, but I
signify.
actually understood what Heather
Did you
said.
say hearing?
Yeah.
Did you say hearing?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
And just to add on some more good news for folks watching us at home, the MCTV equipment, as approved in our budget, our half of it is going to be replaced soon. And we are getting fiber, high-speed internet here in this building, which will help with the transmission over to MCTV headquarters as well.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay, back to Dan.
Okay, so this next item is request the board to approve a grant agreement with Vermont Agency of Transportation. It is a Better Roads Program grant for Katy Road culvert. There's 2 large culverts underneath Katy Road that we're going to be replacing. This is the first one. And I prepared a grant application earlier in, well, late winter, and we received word that we were awarded a grant of $60,000. Our match is $15,000. So basically, any costs up to $60,000, we would get 80% reimbursed by the state. Anything above that would be 100% town. And I anticipate that it will be above the $60,000. So basically, we're going to get the complete $60,000 from the state. Just a couple items of note in the agreement. The project has to be complete paperwork-wise by June 30 of 2020. They would certainly like to have all the work done this construction season. That culvert is an intermittent stream, so there is a permitting process. Honestly, I know V-Trans would like to have that done, but I think their own permitting process is going to make that difficult.
Right.
So we may be bidding this out, depending on how we get this, maybe bidding this out in the winter and to get ready for a June 1 or earlier construction. You can't get in after, you can't be at below water surface after October 1 or before June 1. And it's a very short window. So anyway, that's just part of their process. Other than that, there isn't anything significant in the grant agreement than anything we've talked about before. So requesting you approve that application or the grant agreement.
So I'll move to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to sign the V-Trans Better Roads Program Grant Agreement for the Katy Road Culvert Replacement Project, including a town match of $15,000.
Seconded by Farhad. Okay, any questions from anybody? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Bill, back up.
So the bridge and road standards that we have currently adopted and have so since, I think, 2013, are only going to be in place until the end of July. The state has a new template, and what they're trying to do is align that standard with the new municipal roads general permit standards. So they have updated some of the language in here, and they have, instead of referencing some specs, they've actually put some criteria in here that were in the other specifications, and they've added a couple of other sections here. One would be for road grades that are greater than 5%. It used to just be all-inclusive at 5% in the old standard. And then some updated and new language in the drainage outlet and turnouts, which define treatments for those based on slope again. They put in a new clause for catch basin outlet stabilization. Gave some definition to stone check dams, and then a small blurb on class 4 roads, which basically if we have gully erosion, we need to use some of these treatment processes. We don't have big problems with class 4 roads here, so it's not really an issue. In order to be eligible for certain emergency assistance and also some grant money, there's 7 sections in this form to be adopted, yes or no. We would only have to say yes on the first 2 segments for hydrologically connected segments of road, and then also section 3, which is under the stream alteration permit. I'm recommending that we adopt the standards for everything. It's best management practices. It's what we should be doing anyways. Our community's large enough that I think it's the right thing to do, and that's what the state is encouraging us to do. And I don't think that means that, you know, if we have something currently in a non-hydrologically connected segment, that we need to go out and change that. But if we're gonna go out and do work on that section, replace something, improve the road, at that point, we wanna use these new standards to do that, so.
So you're recommending to circle yes in all of these boxes?
We didn't talk about it. I don't know that we
Okay.
made that. I think I'm okay with staff's recommendation on that. I mean, he's recommending that we approve.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We okay?
yeah. Do you want me to make a motion?
Please.
I can't talk, but everybody wants me to make the motion, so I'm good. I move to adopt the town road and bridge standards. Should that say the state? Do they really say the town road and bridge standards?
The adoption form says town road and bridge standards on it.
Okay.
Second, we're adopting what they put out
What
as
the
our,
ta-
as
yeah.
our town.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Maybe we should say move to adopt the town road and bridge standards in entirety, in all sections? Would that
Yes,
be?
that's what I'm recommending, yes.
So I'll just clarify that to amend the motion to say that we're adopting them in the entirety,
Okay.
just to be clear.
Okay, and Farhad seconded. Mo?
I have a question on that. If you're gonna adopt these standards, but you're not gonna do anything on Creek Road, except keep it closed? You really know what you're doing?
Well,
It's kind of two different issues. Parts of Creek Road are closed now. If Creek Road were to reopen, then, and these have been adopted, these standards would apply to that road. And there are some guardrail requirements in here, and different things for the same, with what we were just talking about, so.
So in the working group's work and evaluating costs, we should probably know what the current standards are if we're considering an option to open all or sections of the road.
Really, the only thing that would apply in here would be, the ASHTO standard is a 7 to 10 foot clear run out from the edge of the traveled way. And if you don't have that, then there's a guardrail installation recommendation.
Okay.
okay.
And
Any-
that's even for a class 3 road?
Mhm.
It's about safety.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving adoption of the Bridge and Road Standards signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Bill. Kathleen,
So you have in your packet a proposal authored by Jen Murray, who is here with us tonight, to apply for a Addison County Regional Planning Commission Transportation Advisory Committee grant. As you may recall, this is where we received funding for both the original pathways study for Creek Road and the rail platform study last year. So we've got some really good benefit from this program. So Jennifer's suggesting applying for 2 limited traffic intersection studies, which will collect and analyze baseline traffic data, including current and projected trips, level of service, and right-hand, left-hand turn movements for both the Middle Road intersection, Route 7 at Middle Road, and the Boardman Street intersection.
Which is the Boardman Street intersection?
That's where you go to G-Stone.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep, that one definitely needs help. Why Middle Road? Because we have signage there. I'm just wondering.
So, yeah, I talked to, it's too bad Dan just stepped out. I talked to Dan about it. And,
Mhm.
yeah,
Those are the two streets that he's recommending as a planner, that the two intersections that he's recommending should be studied and with a recommendation how to handle increased traffic flow?
I'm trying to march back my logic, because I'm so good at taking other people's ideas and making them my own, I forget which ones are which, but I think it was originally my idea to look at something in and around that Hannaford Plaza Growth Center.
Yep.
And then when I talked to Dan, he felt like Creek Road was pretty well figured out in terms of turns and things right now, but Middle Road may have more development pressure in the future if Tony continues to develop there, if someone buys a lot in the front. I just want to make sure that there's not another right-hand turn lane warranted coming off Middle Road going south on Route 7.
Okay.
And then the Hannaford Plaza entrance is kind of taken care of, and then Boardman Street is the next one that's tricky right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. Okay.
So this is part of the, kind of feeds into the southern plan?
Yeah, it feeds into that whole Route 7 corridor study that
Yeah.
we'd like to do someday. It's hard to find funding for that because it's not in a state designated growth center, downtown or village center. But
Right, right.
But the TAC grant isn't particular for those things, so it's a nice little source of funding to use for these corridor areas.
Studies,
We'll
yeah.
be able to knock off a little bit of it piece by piece.
Exactly, yeah.
And this does not require a town match.
Okay.
That's good. Pleasure of the board.
Oh, I'll move it, that we authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to submit the proposal requesting up to $30,000 for intersection studies on Route 7 at Middle Road and Boardman Street to the TAC for possible funding under the FY20 Transportation Planning Initiative Work Plan and Budget.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right. Next is an update on our consultant selection as we talk about master planning.
Jen, if you could.
You were doing so well. So, yeah, you have in your packet the contract for TPUDC, and they were selected as the preferred consultant. We had an advisory committee composed of the people mentioned in your packet there that gave me advice on a preferred consultant, and we thought TPUDC really kind of stood on their own at the head of the pack. We've asked them for a proposal, and you just need to authorize Kathleen to sign that tonight. I don't know if you have any questions.
So what did we get awarded in that grant? I thought it was around 80,000.
Well, there were two components of the grant. It was like 68 and for the downtown master planning and 33,000 for the stormwater management plan. So we had identified, we had put our share in the budget. The grant came in a little bit short, but we're hoping to shift some money from the municipal planning grant that we had also thought we were going to apply for to match the grant.
So, so we're a little short on what their not to exceed cost
But
is.
to note that this will go into next fiscal year,
Okay.
so we could budget a similar amount for next year to cover it.
That's good. Okay.
Other questions?
No, very impressive company and the credentials, so I look forward to seeing the results.
Okay.
Pleasure of the board.
I move to approve the contract with consulting firm Town Planning and Urban Design Collaborative LLC for development of downtown master plan for a not-to-exceed cost of $108,333 plus expenses.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any other questions?
Do we have an estimate on expenses? Are expenses do you have any idea of what plus expenses would look like?
Oh, it won't exceed the 108,000.
Okay, so.
But it's a plus.
Plus expenses.
108,000 plus.
I think he means additional expenses, like if you guys wanted extra stuff added, it says in the contract that you would negotiate for those additional expenses on an hourly basis.
So we would then approve those.
Yeah, you'd have to approve that separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can it just say 108,
Okay.
333?
Sorry, Lindsay, first I was thinking like stay over and mileage, that kind of expenses are included in the 108, but yeah.
Okay, because that is a good question. Clarity. Okay, any other questions? Pretty good testimonials to their performance. I'm anxious to work with them.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So all in favor of approving the contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, well, that allows you to get underway, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Kathleen's got another amendment to the sublicensing agreement for us.
So last summer, New Singular Wireless came before the board for the fourth amendment to our agreement for the Chipman Hill Tower with Verizon. They never installed the proposed equipment under that fourth agreement, and they are proposing in the fifth amendment that's before you tonight some different equipment. If the board is inclined to authorize me to sign this amendment, I would ask you to make that pending verification that the structure is capable of supporting that and there isn't any frequency interference with the proposed equipment.
So it does say in the notes that an interference study has now been completed. Is the frequency something different?
No, that is the interference study. I wanted a clear certification from the company, an interpretation of that interference study, since it's Greek to me, just saying.
Okay.
We're certifying that our equipment, this study shows that our equipment is not going to interfere with our first responders' frequencies.
Okay, sounds good.
Once they move, there's nothing on the second tower, so that's going to be
Yeah.
dismantled.
Right.
Pleasure of the board.
Well, I just want to understand, because I think I've heard that the Middlebury area ambulance folks are experiencing some interference with reception. So I just want to be sure that they are okay.
Okay. I can follow up with them. I hadn't heard that recently. We had heard that initially.
Initially, like when they first switched them over to
months and months ago, right. And they had a new location on the tower.
Oh, they were given a new location on the tower? Because of that complaint? Okay.
Their equipment was transferred to a different location on the tower. Remember, they were working
Yes.
with the sheriff's office, and there was a change in that relationship. So I'm happy to follow up with them and see if they've resolved their issues.
I don't think it's resolved yet, so that would be good, you know. I think it's okay from one direction, it's impaired from another direction on the tower. That's what I heard Tina say. And that was, yeah, you're right, a couple of months ago, but I don't know if.
I haven't heard from them in a couple of
I think they're
months.
living with it, you know, but I wouldn't want to see it impaired further by another user that could interfere with their reception. That's all.
Well, that's what that's what I'm asking this certification for, so it would be
I know,
good.
that was good that you asked for that certification. I'm just not sure how to interpret it either.
And I'll follow up with the ambulance service.
You want it written in English, not in Technese. Okay. Pleasure of the board.
I move to authorize Town Manager Kathleen Ramsey to sign the Fifth Amendment to the sub-licensing amendment between Verizon and New Singular Wireless on behalf of the town of Middlebury.
Pending.
Pending receipt of certifications on the interference
pending
study
receipt.
and the structural capacity of the tower.
Which is it?
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments?
I felt like I was pleading the fifth when I read this.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Oops. Okay. Thank you. Next is the agreement with the town clerk, and we've hammered this out in executive session and have run it by council and have run it by Ann. And are you good with the final version of the agreement, Ann?
I'm very comfortable.
So I think we're all comfortable with it. If there's no other questions, I think it's a matter of adopting it, but certainly happy if somebody wants to comment or question on it.
I'll move to approve the agreement of the town of Middlebury and the Middlebury Town Clerk.
Second.
Agreement between the town of Middlebury.
Okay, I'm all done.
No.
I move to approve the agreement between the town of Middlebury and the Middlebury Town Clerk. How's that?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing
Just one signature.
hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and we finally got it done. Okay, next is check warrants.
So I have reviewed the check warrant report, and I'll move to approve the total expenditures in the amount of $583,133.11, consisting of $467,598.98 for accounts payable and $115,534.13 of payroll for the period of July 10th through July 23rd, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Kathleen?
First, most importantly, the second annual Vermont Leadership Conference is coming up. Summit is coming up on August 12th, and I would ask anybody that would like to register to attend to let me know by the end of the week so I can get you registered for that. It's going to be at Vermont Technical College.
So I'm interested, but I've got to just check things out, so I'll try to remember to get back to you.
Yeah, I'll get back to you also.
Okay.
Last year we went, I highly recommend. It's a
You-
great
did you go?
conference.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we both, you and I went.
I went. This is the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
We-
yeah.
But it's, where's the Vermont Technical College?
Randolph.
It's in Randolph.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
That's
And
all you
how
have.
expensive is it? Are we,
It was like $50.
Free. It's either free or $10.
oh, okay. So I just didn't want to be asking to go to something that was expensive.
Okay, board member concerns. Laura?
I'm impressed that so many of our committees, again, are doing good work, and I've been following in the minutes, so I'm impressed and I'm grateful, for their work. The Economic Health Committee, I thought it was interesting that they're looking at what other towns have done in terms of hiring someone, either, is that person hired by the town or is it outside of the town? So I'm interested in how they proceed with that recommendation as we move into the fall. So that was good. I'm also hoping that you might consider attending the Addison Independence Community Conversation on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock at Ilsley Library in the community room. It will address the conversation around the Green New Deal, and I think that climate change is a priority, and we've been talking in many of our meetings about how we address climate change. So I think that could be a worthy conversation, and I'm planning to attend that, and I hope you will too. We've seen these spikes in temperatures. It's been a very bizarre summer. And I think we need to be really amping up our response. That's all, thank you.
Okay.
I'm all set. I'm good.
You've already spoken enough
Yes.
this evening? Okay. Farhad?
With the heat wave we had last weekend, it was unbelievable, and I hope everybody was okay. I didn't hear of any emergencies. I've seen more and more storefronts have signs out asking people to take care of the dogs, bring them in and not leave them in the cars. It's very important to remember that, to keep the pets in the cooler environment.
Okay, nothing for you. Nick?
No, I have nothing to add, just enjoyable participating as always.
Well, it was awfully nice of you to take the time out of standing on your head to come join us.
He's 14 hours,
Well,
yeah. Go ahead.
It actually helped me understand what Heather was saying.
What should say?
I don't think we busted on her so much.
No, I'm saying you're 14 hours younger than us.
Yeah. I'm gonna get you an inversion table for when I have
Or older
discussion
than us.
items on the agenda.
I know you will.
Okay. So Kathleen, just to recap, we've got a couple hanging chads that we need to follow up on. Can you, I think it's probably appropriate for you to send a note to the two landowners about trying to set up a meeting. I'll give, maybe we all should give you our calendars. I'll send you mine. And then we should review the issues that Princess Montpellier gave to us, and you said within a few days. I don't think we should be locking you down to responding on any specific day, but within a reasonable time to be able to give her the correct points of contact for those issues, right?
Right. She said she'd stop by on Thursday.
She made an appointment. Okay.
I'm curious myself to know who those agencies are, you know.
And I'll give you the documents here, Kathleen. So, okay. Other than that, is there any other items of business? We have no executive session for the first time in a while. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we're 4 minutes late, Nick.